All right, we're talking with Warren Haynes. For those who don't know Warren, Warren, you spent more than 20 years in the Allman Brothers. Is that correct?
25, yeah.
Yeah, 25 years in the Allman Brothers. He was a member of the Dead. He's played with almost everyone. I mean, everybody from Dolly Parton to the Dave Matthews Band to the Pretty Reckless, and I always love to mention Corrosion of Conformity because I love those guys. Just an amazing array of artists. It's probably easier to list the people who you haven't played with, and the last time we talked, I believe Tom Waits was one of those people.
Yeah, I remember that conversation, and I've still never met Tom, which is fine. He's but he's someone whose music I really like a lot and have never worked with. But I have been fortunate to have worked with so many people that I would put on that list. It's a small list of people that I haven't been able to work with, but it's still there.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, was Neil Young on that list of people you haven't worked with yet?
Yes, and we still haven't done anything together. We've had a general chat, nice to meet you kind of conversation, and we have so many mutual friends. It just has never transpired, and obviously I'm a fan.
Because I notice on the new album, A Million Voices Whisper, which comes out November 1st, you have Lucas Nelson, son of Willie, as a guest on there, and he spent time in Promise the Real as Neil's band for a while. So
yeah, they play together.
Yeah,
lot.
Maybe you have a little more of a better chance after. Maybe Lucas can put in a good word for you, right?
Those things, we probably talked about this before, but those things just happen organically.
Yeah.
Every situation I've ever been in where we wind up recording together or writing together or playing together or jamming, whatever the case may be, it just happens in an organic way, and that's the best way anyway. But back to Lucas, Lucas and Jamie Johnson joined me on a song called Day of Reckoning that Lucas and I wrote together, and the three of us, myself and Lucas Nelson and Jamie Johnson, had been the three singers in the Last Waltz tour a few years ago, and we all just loved the way our three voices blended together, so I wanted to capture that on this record. So getting those guys together to come in and record and be part of that was really cool. And Lucas played some amazing guitar as well.
Yeah, unbelievable. He's an amazing talent. And also really interesting to see Derek Trucks on this album. Now, I know you guys are friends, but I guess it's been a while since you guys recorded something together. And
we haven't really collaborated since the Allman Brothers stopped performing. We've played on stage together quite a few times, but we haven't been in the studio like this until now. And he came in and was part of 3 songs that we recorded, 2 that he and I wrote together, and 1 song that I had finished that Greg Allman had started writing and never finished, and he passed before he finished it. And so that was kind of the catalyst, really, was that song, because I wanted Derek to be on that song. I thought it was very important that he be part of that. And then when we were talking, I was like, why don't we just get together and write some tunes and see where it all goes? And it was great. We spent 3 days writing together and a couple of days in the studio together, and it just felt like home,
Yeah, it must. I mean, you've known Derek. Well, were you in the Allmans before he was born, or how
no, but almost.
Yeah.
I met Derek when he was 11 years old, and I was in the Allman Brothers at that time. But yeah, when I first heard him, he was already playing guitar, and he was 11. We've known each other since, and we played together dozens of times, if not hundreds of times, before we played together in the Allman Brothers, because his band used to open for Gov't Mule, and I played and sang on a couple of his solo records, and we just have a really long history.
It must be amazing, because I remember seeing him when he was 16 with his band in Richmond, Virginia, back in the 90s, and just thinking, man, this kid is just going to go into the stratosphere. And it must be amazing to watch his evolution over those years, and to develop his own style like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously gotten better and better and better, but he was great even at 11, surprisingly so. I remember the first time we played together, the Allman Brothers had a night off, and we were recording in Miami for the Seven Turns record. And Butch said, what are we going to do on our night off? We should all go hear my nephew play. He's amazing. And somebody said, oh, how old is he? And Butch said, he's 11. And we're all like, yeah, okay. And Alan Woody had seen him play and said, no, man, this kid is amazing. We should go. And so we all went out there, and we wound up playing on stage together in his second set. Greg and Butch and myself and Alan Woody and Derek. And, he was like smaller than his guitar, but playing like a grown man. And I just remember all of us being like, wow, this kid's really got something special,
And then with the song you mentioned, the Greg Allman song, Real, Real Love. So how did you, did you have it, was it partially recorded before you started working on it, or did you have to start from scratch with the music?
I wrote the music after the fact. To my knowledge, there wasn't any music, or there wasn't music that had been recorded. When he showed it to me the first time, it was just the lyric, and he might have played some little semblance of a melody sitting at a piano or something, but I didn't remember it. But all I had was the lyric to work from. So I wrote the music, but in a way that would honor the way he would write it. More so than any song I've ever written, I was like, I want to make this the way he would do it. And even coming down to the way I sang it in the studio. And of course, Derek and I were in the same room together side by side as we recorded that. And it's kind of like a duet, like between his guitar and my voice, kind of like Please Call Home, when the Allman Brothers did that with Greg's voice and Dwayne's guitar, where I sing a line, he answers it. And I just remember Greg's presence being super strong in the studio. The vibe was really heavy, and I'm super proud of the way it turned out.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. All your tracks with Derek, especially. But from the first taste of this album, "This Life as We Know It," it seems that song. It seems pretty chill. There's a lot of soul in there, a little bit of gospel that I'm hearing. Anyway, and it's a very, very positive song. Now, when my first run through with it, I was like, this must have been something he wrote during COVID. But then I was like, no, that's silly. This can be applied really to any situation that anybody's going through, I think.
Yeah, it was written post-COVID in the last 2 or 3 years, but reflecting on that whole experience and coming out on the other side feeling stronger about things and looking at the future through a positive lens, which I think a lot of people are having a shared experience that way now. It's like we learned a lot from that whole thing, and now it's time to move forward and get rid of a lot of baggage and concentrate on what's most important in your life and move forward in a positive way. And that's what that song is about. It was very inspiring for me because I was in Montauk, Long Island, which is the most eastern point, where the lighthouse is sticking out in the middle of the ocean. And it was the 4th of July, and there was a full moon, and of course there was fireworks and this beautiful setting out over the ocean, and it was just a moment of inspiration where I thought, I got to start focusing even more on the things in my life that are super important.
Is that, you talked about earlier about collaborating, and it's better when it's organic, and that seems like a very organic moment when coming up with the idea for a song. Is that how most songs come to you, or do you sometimes just sit down and actually try to write a particular song? I just remember I talked to Randy Bachman a couple of weeks ago from BTO, and he was like, he was talking about writing "Taking Care of Business" and how that was just kind of a throwaway song they were testing the studio levels with, and he was actually just making fun of his brother who had a stutter. And the next thing you know, it's their biggest hit ever. And he said, "That's when I knew I had no idea how to write a hit song." And I was just wondering what your process, is it vary, or do you just let it happen organically like you just described?
It does vary, and since we're talking about Greg Allman, he used to say there's as many ways to write a song as there are songs, meaning that everyone is different. The inspiration behind it is different. You know, sometimes you get a lyrical idea, sometimes you get a melody, sometimes you get a little guitar riff. You never know what's going to spark the creativity, but we're always thankful when it happens, and you have to recognize those moments. And for me, I guess the fast songs usually start with some sort of guitar riff or something, and the slow ones usually start with a lyric or something, but there's no set way. And I think Randy's right that sometimes the best songs come out by accident, you know?
Right. It's just kind of like you're just fooling around. All of a sudden, you got a million seller. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's definitely happened many times throughout music history. You know?
Yeah. So you got this band now. I'm assuming you've got a couple of guys you're familiar with, but I'm sure you've jammed with Medeski, Martin, and Wood in the past. And how'd you get John Medeski to help you in this project?
Well, we've been friends a long, long time, and he's one of my favorite musicians. And we actually worked together on the last Waltz tour as well. So the last few years, John and I have been spending a lot of time together. And so when I reached out to him and talked to him about making this record and doing a tour, he was into the idea, which was great. And Kevin Scott, who is the new bass player in Gov't Mule, on bass, and Terrence Higgins, who was in my band over a decade ago, on drums. In the live band, we also have Greg Osby playing saxophone, who is amazing, one of my favorite jazz artists. Greg's not on the record. That kind of came about later, but we've really been enjoying this band touring together, and I look forward to everything we can do.
Well, you're going to have the band October 12th, the last stop on this leg of the tour at the Orpheum Theater in Boston. So we're looking forward to see you there. Just before I let you go, I'm just curious, and I'm not trying to be negative in any way to anyone else, but are there things that you can do as a solo artist that you feel like you can't do with, say, Gov't Mule?
Well, I don't know if I would say can't do, but...
Yeah, I didn't want it to come across negative.
It's more like if I write a batch of songs that are new songs and they don't seem like Gov't Mule songs to me, then that usually tells me that it's time to make a solo record. I haven't made a solo record in over 9 years now, and we've done several Gov't Mule records since then. I feel like usually when that happens, it's because I think the songs need a different interpretation because they're written in a direction that is a little outside of the Mule wheelhouse, and that's a positive thing for me, because as a songwriter, it's good to kind of keep pushing yourself into new directions and not get stagnated and feel like you're writing the same kind of stuff all the time,
Yeah. Well, Warren Haynes, I appreciate your time. The new album, A Million Voices Whisper, November 1st. The song out right now, This Life as We Know It. It's on everything. You can stream it anywhere. It's a beautiful song, and we look forward to seeing you live October 12th at the Orpheum Theater in Boston. And Warren Haynes, once again, pleasure talking with you, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure. Nice to talk to you.